Yes, welcome into Sports Bit. Betting Insight today, Pauly and Teddy Wednesday, May 17th. Big game breakdown, Eastern Conference Finals preview. Game 1. You won't believe the series price and a 5-figure bet yesterday at one shop. We'll tell you about that coming up. Red Sox and the Cardinals as well. And we'll get to some NFL odds at the Westgate released here in Las Vegas. Division odds and the play of the day. Winner yesterday. Bad beats, bad bets, bad for the books in a second. Draft lottery. Trust the process. Sixers sneak into the top 3. They get the 3rd pick. Lakers get the 2nd. Celtics, 3 years in a row now, the team with the best odds on getting the number 1 pick, got the number 1 pick. It took 10 years before that, before it happened, 10-year drought rather, and now it's happened 3 years in a row. And I know some execs weren't happy with how it played out, but it was pretty chalky other than Phoenix dropping from 2 to 4.
Yeah, and the Suns at 4, the Kings at 5. I think it's good for the league, being that the Western Conference has been so much better than the East for so long, to see 2 of the top 3 picks going to the Eastern Conference, and big market Eastern Conference teams as well. But, you take a look at a Celtics team that is already in the Eastern Conference Finals. You think about what adding a number 1 draft choice is going to do to that team. In Boston, certainly Danny Ainge and company real happy for that deal from, 2013? That sent Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce to Brooklyn, where they proceeded to win a grand total of 0 playoff series with the Nets. The Celtics, the long-term winners in that deal, obviously, as they get the number 1 overall pick. So who's it going to be, Pauly? Fultz or Ball?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they trade the pick. Who knows? Try to get George. I would imagine it's Fultz if they keep the pick. But I don't know what the hell Magic Johnson will do at number 2. Remember, he was at the Kentucky-UCLA game when Fox dominated Ball. So now you have the report that Ball might only work out for the Lakers. Unbelievable. I'll tell you what. Sacramento, though, with number 5 and number 10. They could screw up a cup of coffee, though. But we'll see if they can get a couple good picks as well, as it's a loaded draft. Bad for the books, Warriors and the over, never in doubt. ESPN Stats and Info tweet, it was the largest first-half deficit the Spurs had faced in over 1,900 games under Pop. 194 to 133 Golden State since Leonard went down.
Yeah, and even more good news for the Warriors. You look at the picture. Yeah, Steph Curry played 30 minutes. No other Warrior got to 30. Lots of time on the bench for the Warrior stars. 39 assists on 50 made baskets for Golden State in that ball game. That is offensive execution and ball movement. Your Pop, and he went off after the game talking about how his team didn't think they could win. When you want to look for a silver lining, I guess you find one. The Spurs were +9 on the glass. But a lot of that was offensive rebounds off their misses. And, defensively, the Warriors had 30+ in every quarter. Not a good result for the books, as you mentioned.
He was the only Warrior player that was minus. Incredible. Bad bets. Astros, Marlins under. What were they doing here? 8, bet down to 7.5. Kohler gave it up himself in 3 innings. 1 win in his last 18 starts.
Yeah, and he finished the game with a 7.04 ERA. Houston is clicking right now. This team's, 28-12. They have the best record in baseball. They are the single most profitable team to support in all of baseball. The bad bet on the under. Astros offense is clicking right now. Tom Kohler found it out the hard way on Tuesday.
All right, Padres, 20% move there. They got beat.
Yeah, I was really surprised at this move. Clayton Richard had some pretty decent early numbers. And, we are talking, of course, about an opponent in Milwaukee that can hit the ball pretty well. I guess that folks were believing in those Clayton Richard numbers. He did not get it done against the Brewers.
All right, bad for the books. How about this? The Braves took money in Toronto, plus $1.55 down to $1.25, and they won going away.
Oh, yeah, and it was a big steam move on Atlanta. This wasn't a couple of bettors coming in. This is the entire market loading up on the Braves. There was a nice quote yesterday from Matt Kemp talking about how Atlanta is starting to click offensively right now, and bettors certainly bought into it. Freddie Freeman hit home run number 14. He's hitting as well as anyone in baseball right now. And the Braves offense clicking on all cylinders. That a very bad result for the house after that huge move in favor of Atlanta.
And Keuchel, too, and the Astros, $1.60 on the road. As you mentioned, Keuchel gets the win. He's 7-0 with a 1.8 ERA, 1.84, I think, ERA. And the Rays Indians bet over from 8 to 9 in that one.
Yeah, I mean, this was not a good result for the house by any stretch of the imagination, because bettors also bought the Rays. I mean, the Rays opened about 160 plus 160. They closed plus 145. Markets recognizing Danny Salazar's inconsistency and also the fact that the key cogs in that Cleveland bullpen wouldn't be available, having worked back-to-back games the previous two nights. So, I mean, Salazar is who he is. He struck out 9 of the 23 batters he faced, but he also allowed 4 home runs. Over Cash's books take a beating on that one.
All right, and our play of the day winner, Reds Cubs over 11.5, win howling out. Home run derby, 9-5 Cubs. Look at this from covers.com. Over now 10-1 in the Cubs' last 11 home games, 11-2-1 of the over in Lackey's last 14 starts, and the over's now 9-2 in Arroyo's last 11 starts.
Yeah, and that total was actually bet as high as 12 throughout the course of the day. I was very frustrated because we put it out as play of the day expecting the total to be in the range of 10.5, and it opened a run and a half higher than that. We do the best we can when we're trying to predict where lines are going to come, and the markets bet some under in that ball game, which was a surprise to me, especially when you talk about all those trends where Cubs are feeling very, very comfortable offensively at Wrigley right now, and when the wind's blowing out, hard team to bet unders with, even when the total's as high as any in baseball all year.
World Series of Poker will start at the end of this month, and ESPN will air multiple hours of live coverage during each of the 2017 WSOP main events on either ESPN or ESPN2. This will be a layoff of only 2 days when the main event final table set July 17th and resumes on July 20th. Good news there, they got rid of that November 9 format, which I didn't like. It's part of a new agreement, new arrangement between ESPN, Poker Central, and the WSOP, which will carry through 2020. And they'll carry an estimated 40 hours of almost live coverage as regulations require a 30-minute delay, Teddy.
Yeah, and look, this is a good thing for poker fans. I'm fascinated to see what the ratings are going to be like. Because, look, we're talking about the middle of July. And WSOP, as you mentioned, starts here in Las Vegas. I believe it's next week, Memorial Day weekend. We'll see, even before the weekend, we'll see. We'll see the very first tournaments. And it goes on, tournaments all through the month of June. And then the main event starting in July. But you're talking about 40 hours of coverage. And we're not talking about the highly edited coverage that you're going to see in the well-produced stuff that you normally see on TV. This is live poker. I'm fascinated to see, A, how watchable it is, and B, how many people end up watching it. The ratings will be the story, Paul, but it's interesting and good to talk about poker getting another shot in terms of mainstream media coverage, and a lot of it in the month of July when, frankly, ratings are down just about everywhere.
Up next, big game breakdown, ESPN Eastern Conference Finals. We'll start with the Cavs and the Celtics coming up on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.
Go to SBROdds.com. Browse, compare, and shop live odds available at top online sportsbooks.
Back on SportsBit, Betting Insight today, big game breakdown. As always, live odds, sportsbookreview.com and SBR Odds. Check out the rating guide. Make sure you're betting with a trustworthy shop out there. Game 1 tonight, TNT. Cavs 4 on the road, 219.5 the total. Cavs open 3 and 219.5. Most shops bet up to 4 by Tuesday morning. Series opened 5:30 in some shops, 660 offshore, and then it went to $9 in Las Vegas. There was a 5-figure bet at the Westgate in Las Vegas. It's a new way to bet. They don't care what it is. They'll parlay the series prices together. It doesn't matter. People think it's stealing and free money with the Warriors and the Cavs right now. Here's a team that doesn't even have home court, a $9 favorite, Teddy.
Yeah, and, a team that Boston played relatively well against in the regular season. I mean, Boston won the first game, 103-99. The Cavs, a late season beatdown, 114-91 on this floor. And that was, again, with first place in the East on the line. And that was a game where Cleveland was hitting shots. They jumped out to a 57-42 lead at halftime. They led by as many as 29, and LeBron simply dominated. 36 points, 10 boards, 6 assists, plus 32 in the 38 minutes that he played. But you talk about a line adjustment. Okay, the first game that Boston, this is after the All-Star break, they had Cleveland at home, Celtics -2. No glove, no Kevin Love for Cleveland. The second game, the late season game with the number 1 seed on the line, they were -3.5, -4, and that was an everybody played type of contest. Same rosters, same teams, and now it's Cleveland -4 for game 1. That, Pauly, is a significant betting market adjustment. The Cavs' power rating very different now in the betting markets than it was before the playoffs started, and we were all questioning their very spotty defense.
Now here we go with the rest against the Rust. First game since May 7th. They've twice had breaks of over a full week since the playoffs started. Any notions of scrimmaging went out the door when a player got injured. D-League Center, when they began one on Thursday, Kyrie asked if the players wanted Lou to allow scrimmages. Absolutely, I wish he would. But at the same time, I understand how important it is. An incident happened in practice where somebody got hit in the hand and it wasn't good. I was about to come out and play 5-on-5, and the incident happened 3 seconds later as Lou comes out of the door. Lou on best using the time. You got to show them new things. I've got to trick them at times, but they're pretty locked in. I don't really trick, but you just keep them engaged. Today was a good day for it. We did some different things today. It sparked their attention and gave them a little something different than we usually do basketball-wise. They got to keep the rhythm on offense, which could be a problem. 117 points per 100 possessions in the playoffs. You know, the markets are anti-Boston here. I think it's a good spot for the Celtics, riding the wave of emotion after they win Monday night. Short turnaround and they're at home. They're thinking that's going to hurt them. And the Cavs had all that time off too. Who knows if they'll be rusty?
Well, there's a decent chance. That being said, Cleveland has played very, very well, certainly offensively, with extra rest, both here in the postseason and during the regular season. We saw that again at the beginning of round 2 when they took care of business pretty easily against the Toronto Raptors in that game 1. And, of course, the quick turnaround time, the rested team versus the unrested team. The markets, you can count on it. It's like clockwork. It is a knee-jerk reaction. The markets will bet against the team that's just finished their series and bet on the team that is rested and ready. But you're right about Boston. You know, I mean, since May 8th, they've only left Boston one time. That was at Game 6 at Washington. This is only their 4th game in 10 nights. So from a standpoint of, hey, you just played a brutal 7-game series, Boston in better situations than most teams given those circumstances.
Now they want to know if they're tough enough. They got smacked around on the boards 51-38 in the early April loss to the Cavs. They made the Eastern Conference Finals despite lousy work on the boards. Playoffs rebounding, dead last. 27th in the regular season in rebounding as well. Another quote from Stevens. We kind of stay in our lane and try to get better, and again, let the chips fall where they may. As we go and do today, the most important thing the coaches can do, the assistant coaches have already worked on the scouting stuff ahead of time, and myself, is make as simple as possible in a short turnaround, which is easier said than done against these guys, but a special opportunity, get the chance to compete against them, end quote. If there's one team that can end this LeBron run, it is the Celtics, who are set up for the future. Maybe they make a run at Hayward. They have the number 1 pick. They have the Nets pick next year. They can maybe end this. This could be a 7-year streak here for LeBron making the finals.
Yes and no, because again, look at that rebounding graphic, all right? Notice who the number 1 rebounding team in the playoffs have been so far. That was Chicago, who got to play Boston in the first round. And then we saw a Washington team that wasn't particularly good on the boards have the edge against the Celtics in the glass. And here's Cleveland, 51.6% of available rebounds the Cavs have snared. That's advantage for the Cavaliers. When you talk about advantages for Boston, look, Cleveland's still not a great defensive team. Cleveland's been off for a long time, and the Celtics are playing this we're not getting respected card. The disrespect card has worked very well as a self-motivator for Boston, and it's worked fairly well as a get your A game out for the Celtics. I do not expect Boston to lay down tonight.
All right, one more game. Red Sox and Cardinals. Quickly, ESPN, $1.05 each way, total 8. Porcello against Leake. Porcello goes from 22-4 with a 3.15 in the Cy Young to 2-5 with an ERA of 4. Nothing's really gone wrong, though, Teddy, when you look at these graphics.
No, nothing at all. That is baseball. It's baseball being baseball. The strikeouts are way up. The swing strike percentage, way up from a Cy Young season last year. All right, walks are up a little bit. Ground balls slightly down. But you look at the metrics, his FIP, his xFIP, his SIERA, all right in line. In fact, 2 of the 3 call his 2017 season better so far from last year. The big change is his BABIP, the batting average on balls in play. Last year was 269. So far this season, it's 327. But Porcello himself has been mostly the same guy. The Boston defense may not be the same. The team BABIP is up by 13 points an entirety from last year, and only the A's have committed more errors. So I do have my concerns about Boston's defense overall. But Porcello, he's just fine. The numbers clearly show it.
And Lee, a microcosm of the Cardinals, not dominated in any way, but they've gone 18-7 after a 3-9 opening start. Up next, the deep dive. NFL division odds released earlier this week at the Westgate. They also came out with win totals, a couple teams a little bit higher than what the South Point had, the Virgin numbers a while back. Plus the play of the day as well on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRpicks.com.
Research before you bet. Be sure to check out SBR Picks for the best game predictions, breakdowns, and much, much more.
Wrapping it up on SportsBit, Betting Insight today, time for the deep dive. NFL division odds released at the Westgate Superbook here in Las Vegas. Throw this graphic up and see some of these odds out there. Is there anything that surprised you or looks interesting, Teddy?
I'll tell you what. I'm disappointed in these numbers, legitimately disappointed. And I haven't gone through the math, but I'm pretty sure the hold percentage for the Westgate is a good notch or two higher this year compared to last year's, Pauly. I'm generally looking for attractive prices on relatively live long shots. You're not going to catch me laying 14 to win $1 on the New England Patriots winning the AFC East, for example. I'm not playing the chalk. And frankly, when you talk about something that's jumping off the page, look at the numbers. I don't see one wager on here that jumps off the page to me. And usually you find one or two when it comes to division odds. I don't see it. What about yourself, Paul? You see something that you want to run down to the Westgate or open up your app and get a bet down on with these current numbers?
Ravens 3-1. Ravens almost 3-1 to win the division.
You think that Pittsburgh and Cincinnati stink? Yeah, that's actually not a bad that's not a bad number.
Look, they were one play away from winning the division last year. If they tackle Antonio Brown at the 1-yard line on the Christmas game, they're going to win the division.
Certainly, we don't look at Cleveland as a team that's likely to make a big rebound this year. Although I'm telling you what, I like the Browns. I wouldn't be surprised if they surprise some people. I started doing some work on Cleveland. That offensive line looks a lot better than it did a year ago, and that's what it.
How about Tampa 4-1?
How about them? Tampa's going to be hot, but you're in the AFC North. I think it's a 2-team race. It's Pittsburgh, Baltimore, which says, all right, I'm getting almost 3-1. I'm getting plus 275 on the Ravens. Maybe you can make an argument there. In the NFC South, everybody's live in that division. Even New Orleans is live in that division, as is Tampa and Carolina and Atlanta. So when you're talking about all 4 teams being priced, they're not all 4-1. You got 2 at 4-1, and the other one's at 2-1, and then 8-5. It's not. It's not the number I'm looking for. I want Tampa at 8-1, 10-1, not 4-1. It's just not high enough.
Yeah, they also had a couple different teams in terms of their win totals. They didn't screw around. They opened the Patriots 12.5. Arizona up to 8. I agree with that. I think the Cardinals will be better. And the Rams were 6. They got to go 7-9 to cash that over ticket. How the hell the Rams? Remember, as you pointed out, the Rams aren't favored. We did it in our team preview. They're not favored in a single game. As CGT released the entire season, weeks 1 through 16, they're not favored once. They're going to win 7 games?
Well, remember, when it comes to, and this is something that I don't think we explained well when we talked about it, the way these lines, the season win totals are created, is you have power ratings for each team, you factor in the home field, and you create a point spread for every game. You convert those point spreads into money lines. And then you take the money lines and convert that into win percentage, and then you simply add them up and then you shade it whichever way you want to shade it. So even though the LA Rams are not going to be favored in any game, at least not at the opener for the first 16 weeks, that doesn't mean that they have no chance to win any of these games. And you look at the math on LA, and the math grades out about 5.5. They shaded up, which surprised me a little bit, but that was their choice to make based on the implied probability of the Rams winning each and every game based on the money line, which is based on the power ratings, which creates the point spread. Whew, I think I said that right.
David Purdom, ESPN Chalk, couple tweets. Top 5 teams by money bet to win the Super Bowl at the Superbook. Patriots, Raiders, Cowboys, Packers, and Falcons. Most bets to win the Super Bowl. Raiders, Packers, Cowboys, Patriots, and Giants. Usual cast of characters there in that one.
Yeah, well, the one thing I want to just point out right here is that the difference between the two. All right, when you talk about the most number of bets, that's your public money. That's truly your public money. So the Raiders are taking the most public money, the Cowboys and the Packers right behind them, and the Giants appear to be a relatively popular public team so far. Whereas when you talk about total money, well, at least I'm not going to say there's a ton of wise guys that get involved, but total money, at least some bigger bettors are getting involved. And there you see more love for the Falcons than you do perhaps from the public right now.
All right, now money time, play of the day. Back to Red Sox-Cardinals. What are we doing?
Well, let's take a look. We just talked about how Rick Porcello is every bit as good this year as he was last year, despite the numbers showing it. Boston bullpen's pretty good too. Craig Kimbrell, last 9 appearances, 9.1 innings, 0 runs, 2 hits, no walks, 17 strikeouts. So far this season, he's faced 59 batters. He's got 34 Ks. Yeah, let's look at Boston. Game number 979 on ESPN tonight. The Red Sox, right now it's basically a pick, a -105, a -110. Let's call it -105 because you should be playing at a dime line shop and not a 20-cent shop in baseball. Boston Red Sox, -105. That's our play of the day.
All right, recap Eastern Conference Finals Game 1 tomorrow, preview Game 2, and Game 3 of the West as well on Saturday. See if we know more about Kawhi's status as well on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.